Hello and welcome to Ozscalemodeling, and welcome to the part 1 of the series of this build, which is the US Marine Corps AH-1Z Sharkmouth helicopter gunship here. This is a kit by Academy, and it's a 1/35 scale. And it's a little bit different to what I've normally built. In fact, it's very different, as I usually build ships, as most of you know. But sticking to the theme, I have done the odd Star Wars spaceship, and this is a gunship, so it's not completely out of the arena of what I'm focusing on. So anyway, first of all, I'd like to ask people to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you get notified of all the updates as we progress through this build. If you haven't already, go back to this playlist and you will see the unboxing of this kit, so get an idea of where we're headed. And, yeah, let's make a start on this. Alright, so decals and photo etch and mask here. Won't be needing these for a while, so we'll put them aside. Let's see, put them there. The first thing I should be looking for is the instructions. Down here somewhere. There they are. And we'll go to where it all starts, usually step 1. Yeah, you'll notice it says manual 1 because there's 2 manuals. There's another manual that shows the decal, the photo etch, and painting, all on a separate manual, as well as all the options of, I think, about 3 different versions from different time periods of this helicopter. So we're going to be at step 1 here, which starts with the cockpit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this and get my instructions put somewhere where they're not going to get creased up and mangled and so forth, so they'll go in here. Be a lot neater, better. And then what I will do then is I have a little section over here. Let's do that on. Make sure that's going to stay there. Give you a look at how I've got that set up. And yeah, so I have my instructions displayed in front of me. Don't have to worry about picking that up and moving around and placing it around things where it could get dirty or bump parts and so forth. So that's all good. Okay. So my instructions are telling me start assemble with number 1. So we're in step 1 and we start number 1, which is part of the cockpit, which means lots of parts here we won't need. but we will need, it seems like sprue letter D and C for most of these parts. Yeah, C and D. Now let's see where they are. We won't need the clear part, so that can be put away out of sight. And here we have sprue C and A, but we'll need sprue C. And just for so you know, I've already given these a bit of a clean. What I do is I just put them in the sink and run some warm soapy water across them, just to get any residue that might be on them from the manufacturing, and let them dry out, and just so you're not going to have any issues with paint adhesion later on. Okay, so that's sprue C we need, and this is sprue D, I think. No, B. Sprue D is here. Double check D, yes, which there are 2 Ds. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go find a container where I can put all of these sprues so that they're all set aside and they're all within reach and I can see where they are. What I'll also be doing is I'll be marking on these with some masking tape. What I'll do is I'll cut a little bit of masking tape, stick that in the corner there, and write letter C or D or whatever sprues in that bag, so that just from, you know, a distance I can go and reach for exactly what I want. Just makes things a little easier. It's not so bad when there's what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues here is not much, but when you're building other things like ships and things like that, you could have up to 30 of these. So it's a good habit to, mark your sprues. Just makes it that much easier finding parts. I'll be back in a second and I'll get myself tidied up here, and we'll have exactly what I'm working on in front of me. Back shortly. Okay, welcome back. I'm a bit more organized now. I just thought of another tip I'll give you concerning the instructions. When you put them in plastic like this, another good idea is I have these, they're like a laundry marker, which, well, basically, if I'm going through the instructions, I'll come along and I'll either circle or tick. What I do is I'll circle the pieces that as I'm doing them, and I'll tick when sections are completed, so I can see exactly where I'm up to, and I'll work through the page marking it on the plastic rather than on the manual. And then what you can do is when you're on to the next page, you just take this out of the sleeve it's in, and this will wipe off with water. So you can just wipe that off and then start it fresh again, and then work on your next page. So it saves you writing on the instructions at all. So there's another tip there. All right. Okay, so to begin, it looks like we're going to do the areas that support the in the cockpit where the seats are going to sit against, which require me to use a D10 part number. There's C31 and C41 and C40. So let's have a look at what we've got here, and we'll take these pieces off. Give you an idea of exactly what I've got to do. There's the instructions there. So we're doing this here. We're just going to put these pieces here together, which become that. And then after those together, we've got this side here, which becomes that. and then they'll eventually get placed into the frame of the cockpit, along with a few other small pieces to go in as well. So basically it's just progressing down, doing the things in the smaller boxes and then placing them in. The instructions are very clear on these. They're looking quite good. Having said that, we're just at the start, so we'll see how it progresses. All right, so let me just check. So I want C31 first. So part C31, what do we have is this one here, which is obviously part of the dash and electronics, the console there. So we're going to take that off the sprue. C31 is there. 31. Okay. Now, just clean that off there a little bit more than that. That should be all right there. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. Remember where I am. Okay, so there's the piece. I just want you to see the detail in that. Camera to focus. There we go. Some really nice detail on that. That's better, yeah. And what I'm going to do is, while we're at this point, like you saw, I cut them off the sprue and I deliberately leave a little bit on the piece so I don't get too close. And then I would trim that piece off and sand it off. But what I recently bought is these sanding sticks here. I thought this would be a good chance to give them a try. I briefly mentioned these in the unboxing of this helicopter. These are by a company called Display, I think. I don't know how to pronounce that. There they are there. And these are, well, I haven't tried them yet, but remarkably good value. So you've got all these little plastic container that it comes in here, and there's different variations of the grit for the sanding. So it starts at 1,000, then you've got 1,200, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. These little compartments just open up, and you've got your pieces in here, and it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, probably about half a dozen pieces in there. And there it is there, you know. It's really nice. Now you can cut these smaller if you want. They're very flexible. So perfect for sanding. What it says here is their product is malleable and difficult to break. It does not lose grit easily. The sponge material allows users to cut into their desired size easily. It is effective on both plastic and metallic materials. So you can use this on photo etch and plastic. There are different colors for each grit to allow easy storage and usage. As you can see, they are different colors. Go along and look at these. Blues, greens, greys. So, something like that. They're available in 2mm, 3mm, and 5mm. And in the sanding grade, as I just went through. They include the carry case for storage. It's made from premium 3M sandpaper that retains grit well. And the material ensures the sanding is even and effective. The sponge can be used wet or dry. improving its polishing effectiveness. I mean, it's everything you need. What else does it say? They say don't tear the sponge. If you want to make it smaller, you can use your craft knife or scissors to cut it the sizes you want. Yeah, so there it is. Really nice. And let's see. Just want to sand a piece on there. And mind you, this was the size we got here, the 1000. Done. There you go. I'll just run my nail across that. That's perfectly smooth. Just that a bit there. Yeah, very good. So let's, you can see that. Oh, perfect. All right. So there, that's great. I'll be here. And and the cost. It was about 12 Australian dollars, maybe even less. Yeah, between 10 and $12 Australian. Really good value. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so I'm just going to take off the rest of these pieces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and clean them all up, and then we'll put them together. So I'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back. We've got our 4 pieces here. This one just glues onto the back here, which is the rear. Well, I think it's the pilot that sits at the back, and the gunner sits at the front. So the pilot's LCD screen and so forth on the console is what we're working on, and this is the back of it. So that's going to go into there. There's some grooves. Just position that like that. Then we'll just use some extra thin and literally just touch that on the spots and let that seep through. Just hold that for a couple of seconds. That's all it takes. And then this piece will go onto the back. So that is pretty much cemented on already. Just to check. Yeah, it needs a little bit more, so we'll just put a bit more in here. There. Just run it around. And like that. You'll notice a little piece of black cardboard. I always keep my parts on a little bit of black cardboard, particularly smaller parts. It just makes them more visible, and then having them sitting on the mat or anywhere else, you're less likely to lose things. So that's that. You can see the console there. So this piece now will go onto the back like that. Should fit neatly like that. It's good. Put some extra thin all around that too. Just make sure it's in its right position. Everything's where it's supposed to be, lined up. Good. I don't know how much, I don't know if that's visible any down there, but you'll see where this panel is. It's going to focus that there's a bit of movement sideways, causing a gap there, see? So I don't know if that's going to be an issue, the way it doesn't fit tight. but I think it should be fine. What I might do is I'll use a bit of the normal contactor glue on here, and then I'll come along with the well, I'm using Mr. Cement, and put that in there to do a final weld of the joints around. There's also a little piece that will go on the top of here as well, top of the chair, and that just sits in there. All right, so I'll go ahead. I'm not going to go through every single individual part, but I will cut in as I take parts off the sprue and have them all ready to be placed. And we'll look at how they go in, any fitting problems. Another thing I did notice with these instructions is that every single individual part has the corresponding has a little triangle, black triangle with a number on it, and I'll show you what I mean. So all these parts have all the number 1, and there's also a number 4, and if you go through you'll find they're all corresponding to the color you paint them, every part here. So that's really, really handy. So obviously it's the black for the cockpit is number 1, and the number 4 will be red for the button on the top of the I guess you'd call it a joystick. I'm not sure what they fly these with. Joystick? I guess it is. Yeah. But that's really handy to see the colors that you need to paint that. Makes that job a little bit easier. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put these pieces together, and I'll take the other pieces off the sprue and have those all ready. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. So what I've done was I've taken the floor of the cockpit off the sprue where all these pieces need to be fitted, and I just test fitted the first one that we did, and basically it actually snaps in perfectly, so that's really good, no problem. Then there's this part here, which will go, let me just check the instructions on that one, the back here, so it goes into that last slot there, and again, beautiful fit. That's really good. There's a little piece there which will go on the back of that. I don't know if that maybe is a headrest or something, I'm not sure. Or it looks like an air vent of some sort there. That'll go onto there. And then on the back of this is a piece like this piece here, which is going to go onto the back there. But I might also mention I'm using this, the new sanding stick here, and it's really good. It's cleaning up these edges really nicely. And I'm using the 1000. I mean, I could go up to higher, 2000 or 2500, but the 1000 seems to be quite good. So definitely cleaning up the pieces. And then there's this piece here, which is the oh, where would that be? That's behind the head of the gunner in front. That's going to go in here someplace. That looks really nice. I'll put a couple of pieces on that. You can see the detail in that. It's going to focus. Put my hand under there. There it is. There we go. So really nice detail in there. Yeah, it's all going together quite nicely at the moment. I'm going to continue on because there's a lot of little pieces, probably about a dozen or so more little bits and pieces that will go along the edge of the console for both pilots, or the pilot in the front. I don't know what you would call the guy in the front. Is he the gunner? Not sure. We'll have to find that out. But yeah, so that's all good. We'll I'll top up all those little pieces there and get them all off the sprue and get them all on there, because they can all be painted on there. This is going to be all primed together, because everything is black going by the instructions. Yeah, everything's base color is going to be black. And the other one, like the number 4, which was a red, which is the button on top of the joystick, that's just going to be hand painted on afterwards. And that, from what I can tell, is the only other color in the cockpit, other than some detailing that'll come later when we need to get the console looking good. But there's also decals as well. So the instructions actually go through and show decal placements, particularly for the screens on these. So there's some screens on there that will take some decals. But that would obviously, that's after the painting. So yeah, all right, I'll continue on with this, and we'll just take a look at how it's going when I've got a few more pieces on board. Okay, back in a few seconds. Okay, welcome back again. Now, I've got all the parts ready to go into the cockpit, except for the seats. So I'm just about to glue all these in. I've test fitted them all, they all fit fine. So I'll put them all on there now and glue them all down, and I'll show you what it looks like when they're done. Back in a sec. Okay, welcome back. Now, I'm completed step 1 and everything I can do in step 1. The cockpit, all these accessories, parts on the side are all on now. Next step in that is the paint. I've got the pilot seats. They're not glued yet, but they'll be painted before they go in. And this section on the back of the cockpit is complete. There was a piece of photo etch needed to be applied to that vent on the back. So that's done. That's ready for painting. And the console's also for painting. And that's what I'm going to do. But we're getting close to the end of this video, so we'll stop here and we'll be doing that in part 2 of the build. So please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit the notifications button to get notified. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and any comments are welcome. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, cheers. Bye for now.